touching on Home and Away, which you have referenced, is it wild to you now that fans are still so invested in what would happen if Danny Sutherland?
Yeah. I mean, I got a couple of DMs recently at the Logies. They had a segment or something on the red carpet about who would you have in Home and Away come back if you could call someone on the burger phone. And 4 people out of, I think, 12 that were interviewed said Danny Sutherland. And I was like, oh my goodness, I did not know that I made an impact or the character made an impact until I see those things and I go, wow, like people did really love that time period of Home and Away. And I think that's when there wasn't a lot of streaming, there wasn't a lot of pay-per-view. It was just like ABC 7, 9, and 10. And it was really just, I think, 7 and 10 that had the soaps on at night, and then it was the news, and then it was like more news on ABC. So I think everyone was watching it. It's different now because there's so much choice, but I think that these characters really became a part of people's families. Like they knew them so well. And I think also it was a time where maybe we didn't talk about things as much. So you kind of felt like you were understood through these characters, and maybe you learned from these characters because we touched on some really, deep topics that I think, some people were brought up by the show.
Absolutely. Speaking of some of the storylines and the deep topics, one that always sticks out in my mind about Danny was when she went through an assault, only for her sister later to marry the guy that assaulted her. Looking back at that story. Yeah,
just slightly unfair.
Looking back at that storyline, what were you even thinking at the time as it was all playing out?
The storyline was not great, but I love to be on a show that I was able to do something like that. So that I thought that was really cool. What I thought was difficult was we actually reshot that entire 2 weeks because I gave too much of a realistic performance. Because it was too realistic, I think they thought it wasn't for the specific time slot. So I had to go back and reshoot it. And that was really difficult for me. And it was the first time in my career where I realized that it doesn't matter if you think you're good in something. It has to matter for the whole of the system. And sometimes what you want isn't always going to be what they show. And that's sometimes difficult, I think, as an actor, because you do scenes and you feel like you've killed it, and then you watch the movie back or the TV show back, and it's not even the scene that, you don't even remember even shooting that crappy take they use. I'm not saying that was crappy, but it was hard to put something out there that I wasn't as proud of. But I thought the storyline was interesting. I thought it was cool. I thought it was, again, we were able to open up topics, especially look at, It Ends With Us, about, sexual assault. And I think we were kind of the pioneers of that.